Hello, my name is Anne. I am 14 years old and I have a small problem. I am turning into slime. Nonsense, you might say, but hear me out. This is my story. I'm an ordinary girl that goes to school. I have a mom and a dad and even a little sister. A perfectly standard family. But one summer day at the end of August, a traveling circus came to our town. This was only in our city for 2 weeks, and of course our whole family went to see their shows. There were clowns, magicians, and even little dogs that played football. We had so much fun. My mom bought some cotton candy for me and my sister, and Dad gave us tickets to take part in one of the attractions. My sister decided not to tempt fate and used her ticket to buy more cotton candy instead. But now I think it would have been better if I had followed her example and just bought myself cotton candy too. Instead, I used my ticket on one of those claw machines where you try to grab a prize from a box. You have probably seen those and maybe even won something. Write in the comments if it was the case. I'm curious what you've managed to get from those machines. As for me, I grabbed a little jar of really cool slime. It was a bright green color. I was so happy because I had never had slime before, and that is where all my troubles began. I was absolutely thrilled and played with slime for many days. It stuck to my hands in such a funny way that I sometimes couldn't peel it off. I even had to go to breakfast a couple of times with slime still stuck to my hands. I tried to make sure Mom and Dad wouldn't notice it, so they wouldn't scold me. I would hide it and quickly eat my breakfast with my other hand. That's how the last days of summer passed, and then my sister and I went back to school. I really wanted to bring the slime with me to show my friends, but in the morning of the first school day I couldn't find it anywhere. Strange, it's very strange. It always spent the night in its little jar, but this time the jar was completely empty. Very odd. I remembered that I put it in there. Maybe my sister took it? I thought it was the case. Fine, I will think about that later. I went to school and the first lessons went normally, but during the third lesson, when the math teacher called me up to the board, something very strange happened. She told me to write something on the board, but when I tried to pick up the pen, my fingers spread across the wall. I couldn't pick the pen. My hand had become flexible and stretchy, as if all the bones had been removed. The teacher didn't notice. I told her I urgently needed to go to the nurse's office, and, without waiting for permission, ran out of the classroom. I was terrified. My arm had almost reached the floor. It had stretched out to nearly a meter. Horrible! I gathered it up with my other hand and ran to the nurse's office. But by the time I knocked on the door and went in to explain my problem, my hand was completely fine. And I was even holding the very same pen I was supposed to have used at the board. The nurse stared at me, not understanding why I had burst into her office. I apologized and left. I didn't go back to class. What had happened to me? Was I sick? Or was this some strange dream? I ate nothing at dinner and decided to say nothing to my sister or my parents. I still hadn't found the slime. I really hoped that after a night's sleep, everything would be forgotten by morning and things would go back to normal. That night I had a dream that I had turned into an enormous slime. I had spread all over my bed, and my sister scooped me up and put me in a jar. It was very strange and frightening, but in the morning I woke up with a strange feeling in my legs. When I looked at my legs, I was in shock. My legs had melted, just like my hand had the day before during math. The same thing, but instead of feeling pain, I felt nothing. It was terrifying. My legs were just one thick mass, as if I really was turning into slime. At that moment, Mom came in and said I needed to hurry up and have breakfast, or I'd be late for school. I told her I wasn't feeling well and was probably coming down with something, so I would be staying home. To my surprise, Mom believed me straight away. She said I looked terrible and that she would bring me tea with jam and that after lunch she would leave work early to take care of me. About 15 minutes later, I was home alone. I hoped my legs would return to their normal shape, the same way my arm had. But there was no improvement and I had no idea what to do. I was pretty convinced that the slime I had pulled out of that machine was behind all of this. The empty jar was just beside my bed. I started examining it and reading the instructions. There was a phone number on it and a note saying that in the event of any strange side effects, I should call the number provided. I think my case qualifies as pretty serious side effect, so I decided to call. There was no credit on my phone, but what could I even hope for? How was anyone going to help me in my situation? Suddenly, I heard footsteps in the flat. Oh no, not now! Not only was I turning into some kind of jellyfish, but now burglars had shown up too. Well, things couldn't possibly get any worse. But at that moment, a boy walked into my room. He had long silvery white hair. Without even saying good day or even hello, he just started searching something in his bag, pulled out some kind of jar with a blue liquid inside and handed it to me.
Drink it quickly!
I had no desire to drink anything from a stranger, but I understood that my situation was hopeless and I had better to do as he said. I closed my eyes and drank it all in one go. The liquid was very thick and warm. Thankfully, it didn't taste disgusting. I felt dizzy and lost consciousness. She was worried about me and she asked why the room was quite cold and why I had left the window open while I was supposed to be ill. I was almost annoyed, so the fact that her daughter was turning into jellyfish didn't particularly worry her, but an open window did. But then I looked at my legs and understood everything. I was perfectly fine. The boy had helped me, or rather his elixir had. But who was he, and what did all of this mean? It's a real mystery. Several days passed and indeed everything was fine. I went to school, answered questions at the board, and nothing unusual happened to me, except that I noticed a strange black car parked near the school. I had never seen it there before, and it gave me an uneasy feeling, and not without reason. A few days later, when I was walking home after lessons, that same car blocked my path. Some strange people jumped out of it, grabbed me, and threw me inside. I didn't even have time to scream because they knocked me out with some kind of dart and I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes, I realized I was tied to a chair in some dark basement. I barely had time to look around properly before a scientist walked in. He pretended to be friendly and said he meant me no harm. He told me he only needed to take a blood sample and then they would let me go straight away. Something told me that it wasn't true. In every film I have ever watched, prisoners are never just let go. Someone always comes to rescue them. Question was, who was going to rescue me? The scientist pulled out an enormous syringe and injected it into my shoulder. Oh, I can't stand needles. Like this video if you can't either. And you know what? When he pushed the needle in, I felt nothing. The needle was huge, and when I looked at my shoulder, I was stunned. It looked like jelly, and I could see the tip of the needle right through my skin. It was happening again. I was turning into slime again. Oh, this is awful! The scientist, on the other hand, was thrilled by the phenomenon. He clapped his hands and said the effect was even better than he could even imagine. He said he was going to go and fetch the saw and cut off my arm. Wait, what? cut off my arm? Can you imagine? Okay, maybe my arm is not looking very good now, but I need my arm. I had no idea what to do. I had to get out somehow before he came back. I started looking around just to find something that could help me to be free. But the room was empty. There was nothing useful anywhere. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. I thought that was the scientist who is coming back with the saw, but it wasn't him. It was the same boy who had brought me the strange liquid last time. He said he would free me and take me far away to a forest to some old friend of his who would be able to heal me. It turned out that the evil scientist worked for a secret organization of hunters and that this boy was his son. He was supposed to follow in his father's footsteps one day, but he wanted no part of it. That was exactly why he had stolen the potion from his father and helped me last time, and now he was going even further. He was going to rebel and rescue me. He saw no other way. We had to run together. What even are these hunters? I had never heard of them. A few minutes later, we were out of the basement and running towards the road. It turned out we were somewhere far outside the city, and the place we needed to reach was quite a distance away, only a few hours' walk north. The boy told me his name was Mark, and he said that he was deeply ashamed of what his father did, and that he would do everything he could to help me and everyone else the hunters were targeting. He also told me that in this world, werewolves, ghosts, and even vampires truly exist. Can you imagine? I always thought those were just fairy tales. I'd love to meet a real vampire today. I wonder, are they good or evil? We walked for quite a long time and finally reached a small river. Mark said we were almost there, but suddenly I felt unwell. I looked down at my hands and saw them beginning to melt. And if only it were just my hands, my legs started melting too, like ice cream in the sun. I collapsed to the ground and spread out into a puddle. Oh, this is very bad. What's going to happen to me now?